In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to crochet this no-sew frog. So this is what it looks like. Super duper cute. And like I said, it is no-sew. So there's no sewing required for this pattern. So this is going to be a step-by-step tutorial, which means I'm going to be showing you exactly what to do for every single part of the frog, making this tutorial beginner friendly and pretty easy to do. Also, if you're interested in the written pattern, I will be selling that on my Etsy store as a digital PDF. If you're interested in that, you can go ahead and check that out, but it's not necessary because I will have the pattern for this frog listed along the top of the video right here throughout the entire video. That's enough for the intro. Let's start making our little frog. With our dark green yarn, we're going to start by making a magic ring, also known as a magic circle. So I'm just going to take my yarn here and I'm going to start by forming an X over my two fingers right here. And now I'm going to take my hook and specifically on this side of the X, I'm going to go under, over, and hook this piece of yarn and pull it under and flip my hook this way. I'm going to place my finger on this loop to keep it from moving around, and I'm going to hook my working yarn and pull it through the loop. And now I've just created my magic ring. And this is what it should look like. So for round one, we're going to start by crocheting 6 single crochet stitches into the magic ring. So I'm going to insert into the magic ring and crochet single crochet stitch. So 1 single crochet, insert again, 2 single crochet. So we're inserting into the magic ring and crocheting our single crochet stitches. So 3 and 4. And before I continue, I just want to point out that I am doing a yarn under single crochet stitch, but you can do either a yarn under or yarn over single crochet stitch. It doesn't make much of a difference. So I'll just show you. So a yarn under single crochet stitch is done like this. So yarn under, but you can also do a yarn over single crochet stitch. So I am doing a yarn under single crochet stitch. I personally prefer doing a yarn under single crochet stitch just because it makes my stitches a little tighter, and I just like the look of a yarn under single crochet stitch compared to a yarn over single crochet stitch. But both work, so you can do either one. So I have now crocheted 6 single crochet stitches into my magic ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now what I'm going to do, I'm now going to close the magic ring. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take my tail yarn here and I'm going to pull on it until this hole in the center here closes. So I'm just going to pinch right here and I'm just going to, oh my God. As you can see, I just snapped my yarn. So when closing the magic ring with chenille yarn, which is what we're working with right now, it can be a little tricky. And that is because chenille yarn is very delicate and it tends to get caught. So when you're closing the magic ring, it is pretty easy to snap the yarn. Since I've just snapped my yarn, I'm actually just going to start over, do the magic ring again, and crochet the 6 single crochets into the magic ring all over again. So yeah, I just wanted to include this in the video just to show you that it is totally normal if that happens. It can be a little frustrating, but since I had only completed round 1, it's not like we have to start over after completing like 5 rows or anything like that. So I'm just gonna complete round 1 again. So I just finished round 1. So now I'm just going to attempt to close this magic ring a second time. Let's see if it's gonna work. Okay, I have finally closed my magic ring, and to be completely honest with you, this was I think it was either my 7th or my 8th attempt at closing the magic ring. These were all my other attempts. Okay, so now I'm going to start round 2, and for round 2, we're going to crochet 1 increase stitch into every stitch in the round. So I'm just going to start by inserting into this next stitch right here. So we're just going to insert, and I'm going to single crochet, and before continuing on, I'm just going to take my stitch marker And I'm going to place it into this first stitch right here to mark the start of the round. So like I mentioned, we're going to be crocheting 1 increase into every stitch in the round, and an increase stitch is made up of 2 single crochet stitches in 1 stitch. So I've already crocheted 1 single crochet stitch into the first stitch, so I'm going to insert my hook back into the same stitch that I just crocheted my first single crochet stitch in, and I'm going to crochet a second single crochet stitch in the same stitch. So what I've done here is I've crocheted 2 single crochet stitches, 1, 2, into 1 stitch. And by doing that, I have created an increase. So now I'm going to do this into every single stitch in the round. So I'm going to insert into the next stitch here, and I'm going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch. So I'm inserting back into this same stitch here. And there's our second increase. Insert into the next stitch. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet into the same stitch. And now I'm just going to continue to do the next 3 increases off camera, and I'll come back once I've reached the end of the round. I just finished round 2, and at the end of round 2, we should have 12 stitches in our round. So round 1, we started with 6 single crochet stitches, and in round 2, since we did an increase into every stitch in the round, so a total of 6 increases, that means that we doubled the amount of stitches from our previous round. So we went from 6 stitches in round 1 to 12 stitches at the end of round 2. So now I'm going to start round 3. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker. I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet the first stitch of round 3, which is a single crochet stitch. I'm going to place my stitch marker into this stitch to mark the start of round 3. So for round 3, we're going to be crocheting 1 single crochet stitch, 1 increase, a total of 6 times in the round. But we're also going to be incorporating a 4-stitch popcorn stitch. But I will be showing you how to do that in just a moment once we get to that point. So following the pattern, we have to start by crocheting 1 single crochet stitch, 1 increase, 1 single crochet stitch, and then we're going to be doing our 4-stitch popcorn stitch. So I already have my first single crochet stitch here. I'm going to insert into the next stitch, crochet and increase, so 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet in the same stitch, insert into the next stitch and crochet a single crochet. And now for our next stitch, we have to make it an increase, but we're also going to be doing half of this increase with a 4-stitch popcorn stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, insert into the stitch, and we're going to crochet a double crochet stitch. So hook my yarn, pull up a loop with 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to hook my yarn, pull it through the first 2 loops. And now I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to hook my yarn again and pull it through the last 2 loops. So now I've just crocheted my first double crochet stitch. So for a 4-stitch popcorn stitch, we have to start by crocheting 4 double crochet stitches into the same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and crochet a second double crochet stitch into the same stitch that I crocheted the previous double crochet. So 2 double crochet, yarn over, three double crochet, yarn over, and 4 double crochet. So once we've crocheted 4 double crochet stitches into 1 stitch, I'm now going to insert my hook into the top of the first double crochet. So I'm going to count back here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to insert into the top of this first double crochet stitch, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the loop of our last double crochet stitch. And now I'm just going to tighten this loop here, and now I'm going to pull the loop through the top of our first double crochet stitch. And by doing that, I have just formed a popcorn stitch, and specifically a 4-stitch popcorn stitch. So, like I mentioned earlier, this stitch has to be an increase stitch, and this 4-stitch popcorn stitch right here counts as just 1 stitch. So what we have to do now is we have to insert back into this stitch to crochet a second single crochet stitch in order to complete the increase. So this can be a little awkward to do just because this stitch is very bunchy and it takes up a lot of space. So I'm just going to move it to the right here, and now I'm going to loosen up my stitch here to give me a little bit extra room. And now I'm going to insert my hook back into the same stitch that we just crocheted our 4-stitch popcorn stitch. Okay, and now I'm going to single crochet. And by doing that, I have just created an increase. So even though our popcorn stitch is made up of 4 double crochet stitches, so 4 separate stitches, it does just count as 1 stitch. So let me just do a little recap here. So we crocheted 1 single crochet, 1 increase, 1 single crochet, and then a 4-stitch popcorn stitch and a single crochet stitch into 1 stitch to form an increase. And next I have to crochet 1 single crochet stitch, 1 increase, a total of 2 times. So I'm just going to insert into this next stitch. And since everything is a little bunched up right now with this popcorn stitch, it can be a little tricky to see our next stitch. So you want to make sure you're inserting into the next stitch and not skipping it. So insert into the next stitch, single crochet, insert into the next stitch, increase, so 1, 2 into the same stitch, insert into the next stitch, single crochet, insert into the next stitch, and crochet 1, 2 into the same stitch. And now we're going to crochet a second 4-stitch popcorn stitch into the next stitch. But this time we don't have to make it an increase, so we're just going to be crocheting a 4-stitch popcorn stitch into this next stitch here. So it's not going to be as awkward to do this time around. So I'm going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch. I'm going to crochet 4 double crochet stitches into 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, going to insert into the top of the first double crochet and into the loop of the 4th double crochet, pull the loop through the top of the first double crochet, and now into the next stitch we have to crochet an increase and then a single crochet into the next stitch and then an increase into the next stitch after that. So I'm just going to move my popcorn stitch to the side here so I can properly see the next stitch. So now I'm going to insert into this next stitch here and crochet an increase. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet into the same stitch. And I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet a single crochet and then insert into the next stitch after that and crochet an increase. And these 4-stitch popcorn stitches here are the eye bumps for the frog. So at the end of round 3, we should have 18 stitches in the round. So now I'm going to take out my stitch marker, insert into the next stitch, and crochet the first stitch of round 4, which is a single crochet stitch. I'm going to place my stitch marker into this stitch to mark the start of round 4. And now for round 4, we're going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches, 1 increase, a total of 6 times in the round. So I've already crocheted my first single crochet, and now I'm going to insert into the next stitch, crochet a second single crochet, insert into the next stitch, crochet an increase. So 1, 2 into the same stitch, and now insert into the next, crochet 1 single crochet, insert into the next, but actually the next stitch is this popcorn stitch right here. So like I mentioned earlier, the popcorn stitch counts as 1 stitch, so we have to just insert into the bottom of this popcorn stitch right here, just like that, and now I'm crocheting single crochet. And now into the next stitch, we have to crochet an increase, and the next stitch can be a little tricky to see sometimes, but it's just this one right here, and increase. So 1, 2 into 1 stitch. So now I'm just going to continue 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, increase, and now I just have to insert into the bottom of the popcorn stitch right here. So 1 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, 2nd single crochet, and then increase. Then 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, increase. So I've just completed round 4, and at the end of round 4, we should have 24 stitches in our round. So that's what that looks like. So now I'm just going to take out my stitch marker, insert into the next stitch, and crochet a single crochet stitch. And now for the next 3 rounds, so from round 5 to round 7, we're just going to be crocheting 1 single crochet stitch into each stitch in the round. So our stitch count for the next 3 rounds will continue to be 24 stitches. So we're just doing 1 single crochet stitch into each stitch in the round. So the next 3 rounds are pretty simple and straightforward, so I'm just going to do them off camera, and then I'll come back to show you how to do round 8. I just finished round 7, and at the end of round 7, we should still have 24 stitches in our round. So now I'm just going to take out my stitch marker, insert into the next stitch, and crochet the first stitch of round 8, which is a single crochet stitch. Place the stitch marker into the stitch to mark the start of round 8. So for round 8, we're going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches, 1 increase, a total of 8 times in the round. But in this round, we're also going to be doing some color changes. And before I get into round 8, I just want to mention that the way that I change colors might not be the most practical way of doing it, but it's just the way that I prefer to do it. There are multiple different ways of changing colors, but the way that I like to do it is I like to cut my yarn after each color change, and then I tie my ends later on. I prefer this method for changing colors when making amigurumis, since I can tie my ends and there's no need to weave them in at the end because all the ends are on the inside of the amigurumi. So I just wanted to point that out before I get to the color changing part of this round. But now that I've mentioned that, I'm going to get started on round 8. So in the color dark green, I'm going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches, 1 increase, a total of 3 times, and then 1 single crochet stitch. So I've already crocheted 1 single crochet, going to insert into the next stitch, crochet a 2nd single crochet, insert into the next, crochet and increase. So 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase. And now I'm going to crochet the 1 single crochet stitch, but I'm going to stop halfway through while I have just 2 loops on my hook here. And before completing this single crochet stitch, I'm going to take my light green yarn and complete the single crochet stitch with the light green. So I'm going to take my light green yarn, I'm going to loop it onto my hook, and I'm going to pull it through my 2 dark green loops. And by doing it this way, this single crochet stitch right here will still appear to be dark green, but now my next stitch will be in light green. So now in the color light green, I'm going to crochet 1 single crochet, 1 increase, 2 single crochet, 1 increase. So I'm going to insert into the next stitch, crochet 1 single crochet, insert into the next, increase, insert into the next, 1 single crochet, insert into the next, 2 single crochet, insert into the next, and increase. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. But before completing the 2nd single crochet of this increase, I'm going to stop while I have just 2 loops on my hook here. And now I'm going to change back to the color dark green. But before doing that, I'm actually just going to take my scissors, I'm going to cut my light green yarn, but I'm not going to cut it too short. I want to leave it long enough to tie knots with later. So I'm going to leave it about this long, cut it, and I'm going to cut my dark green yarn from earlier. I could have cut it right after switching to light green, but I forgot to do that. So we're just going to cut it now. So I'm going to leave it about this long. And now since I've just cut my dark green yarn from earlier, it's now ready to use when switching to dark green yarn. So now I'm going to loop my dark green yarn onto my hook and pull it through the 2 light green loops. And now in the color dark green, I'm going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches, 1 increase, a total of 3 times. So now I'm going to insert into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, insert into the next, 2 single crochet, insert into the next, and increase. So 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase. So at the end of round 8, we should have 32 stitches in our round. And that's because we did a total of 8 increases in this round, which has brought our stitch count from 24 stitches to 32 stitches in the round. So now I'm going to take out my stitch marker, insert into this next stitch here, and crochet a single crochet. Place a stitch marker to mark the start of round 9. So for round 9, we're going to be crocheting 1 single crochet stitch into each stitch in the round, but we're also going to be doing 2 5-stitch popcorn stitches in this round. And these 5-stitch popcorn stitches are going to be done similarly to these popcorn stitches here, but these were 4-stitch popcorn stitches, and the 2 popcorn stitches that we're going to be doing in this round are 5-stitch popcorn stitches. And the difference is we're going to be doing these 5-stitch popcorn stitches with 5 double crochet stitches instead of 4 double crochet stitches like we did with these popcorn stitches here. So in the color dark green, we're going to crochet 9 single crochet stitches. So I already have my first single crochet here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And still with the color dark green, I'm now going to crochet a 5-stitch popcorn stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert into the next stitch. And now I'm going to crochet a total of 5 double crochet stitches into 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to do the same thing that we did with the 4-stitch popcorn stitches in the beginning here. So now I'm going to insert into the first double crochet stitch. So I'm going to count back 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to insert into the top of this first double crochet that we did here. And then into the loop of our 5th double crochet stitch. I'm going to tighten the loop and I'm going to pull it through the top of the first double crochet stitch in order to complete the 5-stitch popcorn stitch. And now, still in the color dark green, we're going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches. So now I have to insert into the next stitch here, but since this popcorn stitch is so bulky, it can be a little tricky to see our next stitch. So I'm just going to push this popcorn stitch to the side here so I can see my next stitch a little bit more clearly. Now we're going to insert into the next stitch, which is this stitch right here. Single crochet. So 1 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, 2 single crochet, but I'm going to stop while I have just 2 loops on my hook here, and before completing this single crochet stitch, I'm going to cut my yarn, and I'm going to switch to the color light green. So I'm taking my light green yarn here, I'm going to loop it onto my hook, and I'm going to pull the light green yarn through the 2 dark green loops. And now with the color light green, we're going to crochet a total of 9 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to insert into this next stitch, crochet 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. But before completing the 9th single crochet stitch, I'm just going to cut my yarn. And I'm going to switch to dark green yarn and complete the single crochet with the dark green yarn. And now with dark green yarn, we're going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches, a 5-stitch popcorn stitch, and then 8 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to insert into the next stitch, crochet 1 single crochet stitch, insert into the next stitch, crochet a 2nd single crochet stitch, and now I'm going to crochet a 5-stitch popcorn stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch and crochet 5 double crochet stitches into one stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now I'm going to take out my hook and I'm going to insert into the top of the first double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the top of the first double crochet, and then I'm going to insert into the loop of the 5th double crochet, and I'm going to pull a loop through the top of the first double crochet stitch. And now I've just completed another 5-stitch popcorn stitch here. And next I'm going to crochet 8 single crochet stitches. So I'm just going to move this popcorn stitch to the side so that I can see my next stitch a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to insert into the next stitch, single crochet, and now I'm going to single crochet 7 more times. I'm going to do this off camera, then I'll come back once I've reached the end of the round. I just reached the end of round 9, and at the end of round 9 we should still have 32 stitches in our round. I'm just going to take a moment to show you what it should be looking like at this point. So this is what it's looking like. And now I'm going to start round 10. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, crochet the first stitch of round 10, which is a single crochet. I'm going to place a stitch marker into the stitch to mark the start of round 10. And for round 10, in the color dark green, we're going to crochet 12 single crochet stitches, and then in the color light green, we're going to crochet 9 single crochet stitches, and then in the color dark green, we're going to crochet 11 single crochet stitches. We're going to start by crocheting 12 single crochet stitches in the color dark green. So I already have my first single crochet stitch here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. For the 10th single crochet stitch, we're going to be inserting into the bottom of the popcorn stitch here, and then into the next stitch we're going to crochet single crochet number 11 and then 12. But before completing the 12th single crochet stitch, I'm just going to cut my yarn, and I'm going to switch to light green yarn. I'm going to pull the light green yarn through the 2 dark green loops, and now in the color light green we're going to crochet 9 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. But before completing the 9th single crochet stitch, I'm going to cut my yarn, switch back to the color dark green, loop it onto my hook, pull it through the 2 light green loops, and now in the color dark green we're going to crochet 11 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to insert into the stitch here, crochet 1, 2, insert into the base of the popcorn stitch for stitch number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And take out my stitch marker, crochet the first stitch of round 11, which is a single crochet. I'm going to place a stitch marker into this stitch to mark the start of round 11. And now for round 11, we're going to start by crocheting 13 single crochet stitches in the color dark green. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13. But before completing the 13th single crochet stitch, we're going to cut our yarn. I'm going to take my light green yarn and switch to the color light green. And now in the color light green, we're going to crochet 8 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But before completing the 8th single crochet stitch, I'm going to cut my yarn and then switch back into the color dark green. And now in the color dark green, we have to crochet 11 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So at the end of round 11, we should still have 32 stitches in our round. So this is what round 11 is looking like. So now I'm going to take out my stitch marker, crochet the first stitch of round 12, which is a single crochet stitch. And now I'm going to place the stitch marker into the stitch to mark the start of round 12. So in round 12, we are going to be doing 2 more 5-stitch popcorn stitches to create the legs. So to start round 12, we have to crochet 12 single crochet stitches and then 1 5-stitch popcorn stitch, all in the color dark green. So I already have my first single crochet stitch. So then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And now I'm going to crochet a 5-stitch popcorn stitch. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to crochet 5 double crochet stitches into 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But before completing the 5th double crochet stitch, I'm going to stop while I have 2 loops on my hook, and I'm going to cut my yarn. And now I'm going to switch to light green yarn. So I'm going to hook my light green yarn onto my hook and pull it through the last 2 loops of my 5th double crochet stitch. And now I'm going to complete the 5-stitch popcorn stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook into the top of the first double crochet stitch and into the loop of our 5th double crochet stitch, tighten the loop, and pull the loop through the top of the first double crochet stitch. And now in the color light green, we have to crochet 8 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to push my popcorn stitch to the side a little bit here so I can see my next stitch. So I'm going to insert into the next stitch here, crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But before completing the 8th single crochet stitch, I'm going to cut my yarn and I'm going to switch to the color dark green. And now in the color dark green, we have to crochet a 5-stitch popcorn stitch and then 10 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to yarn over and crochet 5 double crochet stitches into the next stitch for our popcorn stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to insert my hook into the top of the first double crochet and then into the loop of the 5th double crochet, pull the loop through the top of the first double crochet. And now I'm going to crochet 10 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to insert into the next stitch, crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So at the end of round 10, we should still have 32 stitches in our round. So this is what it's looking like at the end of round 10. So in the next few rounds, we are going to be doing some decrease stitches, which will start to close this hole right here. So before getting started on the decrease rows, I am going to take this time to add the safety eyes and to tie knots with the loose ends on the inside of my amigurumi. So for eye placement, we are going to place the eyes between round 3 and round 4. So if we count here, 1, 2, 3. So this is 3 and 4, so right between these 2 rows. So right along this round right here. So for this eye on the left, so I'm just going to place my safety eye right next to my popcorn stitch. And we want to angle our safety eye downward and not through the eye this way, but we want to angle it downwards a little bit so that the other end of the safety eye comes out on the inside of the frog. And we need to do this in order to be able to place the backing onto the safety eye. And now for the next eye, this one we're going to insert a little differently. Instead of inserting it right next to the popcorn stitch, we're actually going to insert it right above this one little loop of the popcorn stitch right here. So if you can see, this popcorn stitch is made up of different ridges from the double crochet stitches, and we're going to insert not right here like we did with this one. We just kind of insert it next to it, but we're going to insert right here. It's not exactly between round 3 and round 4. It's actually right along round 3. So just going to insert it in here. Remember to angle it downwards. So I've tried inserting these eyes differently, and this is just what ends up looking the best. And by inserting it this way, it ends up looking a lot more even than if we were to insert it between the 2 rounds like we did on this eye. So that's what that looks like, but now I just have to place the backing onto this eye. So I'm going to flip it. I'm going to place the backing and click it in place. And now I'm going to tie knots with these loose ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of the ends that are closest together, so these right here, and they end up being opposite colors, so light green and dark green, and I just tie a knot. So 1 knot, 2 knot, and I'm just going to do this with all of the ends. I've just finished tying all of my loose ends into knots, and now I'm going to flip it back right side out. And now we're ready to start the decreasing rounds. So now I'm going to start round 13. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker and crochet the first stitch of round 13, which is a single crochet stitch. And then I'm going to place my stitch marker in that stitch to mark the start of round 13. So for round 13, we're going to continue using dark green yarn, and we are going to crochet 2 single crochet stitches, 1 decrease, a total of 8 times in the round. So I already have my first single crochet here, so I'm going to insert into the next stitch and single crochet. And now I'm going to quickly demonstrate how to do a decrease stitch. So what we're going to do is we're pretty much just going to crochet 2 stitches together. So we're going to insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, but before completing the single crochet stitch, I'm going to insert again into the next stitch, pull up another loop, and as you can see, I now have 3 loops on my hook. So now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. And that is how you do a decrease. So now I'm going to insert into the next stitch, single crochet, so 1 single crochet, insert into the next, 2 single crochet, and now we're going to do another decrease. So I'll show you again. So insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, pull up a 3rd loop, hook the yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. So now I'm just going to continue crocheting 2 single crochet stitches, 1 decrease until I reach the end of the round. I just reached the end of round 13, and this is what it's looking like. As you can see, the hole at the bottom here is starting to get a little smaller, and it's getting a little cinched in here. And at the end of round 13, we should have 24 stitches in our round, and that's because in this round, we did a total of 8 decreases, which brought our stitch count down from 32 to 24. Now I'm going to take out my stitch marker, insert into the next stitch, and crochet the first stitch of round 14, which is a single crochet stitch. I'm going to place the stitch marker into the stitch to mark the start of round 14. So for round 14, we're going to continue using dark green yarn, and we're going to crochet 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decrease, a total of 8 times in the round. So I already have my first single crochet stitch right here. So now I'm going to crochet a decrease. So pulling up a loop, inserting into the next stitch, pulling up a 3rd loop, and then pull the yarn through all 3 loops. So 1 single crochet and then decrease, decrease. So I'm just going to continue to do this a total of 8 times in the round, and I'll come back once I've reached the end of the round. I just reached the end of round 14, and at the end of round 14, we should have 16 stitches in our round. So this is what it's looking like. Hole's getting smaller. And now before I continue on to round 15, I'm just gonna take my hook out of this loop here, make this loop a little bigger so it doesn't come undone. And now I'm gonna take a moment to stuff my frog with some polyester fiber fill. So I'm gonna take my stuffing and I'm just going to place it into the hole at the bottom here, and I'm gonna stuff my frog. So the amount of stuffing that you add will determine how soft or how firm your frog is. So I'm gonna try and go for a bit of a squishy frog today. So I'm gonna try not to overstuff it this time. Okay, so now that I have mostly finished stuffing the frog, I might add a little bit more stuffing later on, but for now, I think we're good. So now I'm gonna do round 15. So I'm gonna take out my stitch marker here. And so for round 15, we're gonna be doing a total of 8 decreases. So I'm gonna start round 15 by crocheting a decrease. And now I'm going to place the stitch marker into this stitch to mark the start of round 15. So we're pretty much just crocheting decreases along this entire round. So I'm gonna do this off camera and then I'll come back once I've reached the end of round 15. So I just reached the end of round 15, and at the end of round 15, we should have 8 stitches in our round. So now I'm just gonna take out my stitch marker here. And what we're gonna do is we are going to crochet just 2 more decrease stitches to bring our stitch count to a total of 6 stitches in the round. So that's 1 decrease, and 2 decrease. And the reason I do just 2 more decreases at the end of the round is just to make this hole at the bottom here just a little bit smaller. So now I have finished the crochet portion of this frog. So now I'm going to cut my yarn, but not too short. About this length should be good. And now I'm going to fasten off. So I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through the loop. So what we're going to do next is we are going to close this hole at the bottom here, but before I do that, the bottom of the frog is feeling a little empty here, so I'm going to add just a little bit more stuffing before I close the hole. Okay, so I have fully finished stuffing my frog, so now I'm going to close this hole at the bottom here. So I'm going to take a darning needle and I'm going to thread this tail yarn at the bottom here through the darning needle. And now I'm going to weave my darning needle through the outer loop of every stitch in this last round right here, which ends up being a total of 6 stitches with those extra 2 decrease stitches at the end. So the outer loop meaning not the entire stitch, but just the outer loop of the stitch. That, it doesn't make a huge difference, so if you insert your needle through the entire stitch, that should work just fine, but I prefer to insert just through the outer loop. So we're going to insert through here and then into the outer loop of the next stitch, and then the stitch after that, and the stitch after that, until we've weaved through all 6 stitches. So once we weaved through the outer loop of all 6 stitches in the last round, we are going to gently pull this yarn until this hole closes. And make sure to pull gently because we really don't want this yarn to snap. Here we go. And by doing that, we have mostly closed the hole at the bottom here. And now I'm going to tie a knot, and I'm going to tie the knot over where the hole is just to make sure it's extra closed. There we go. And now I'm going to weave in my end and then cut the end. So we have now finished crocheting the frog, and now all we have left to do is embroidering the little mouth on the frog. So now I'm going to take some black cotton yarn and I'm going to cut a piece of this yarn. So this is how long my piece is. And now I'm going to thread this strand of yarn through my darning needle. And now I'm going to embroider a little mouth onto my frog. So you can embroider your little mouth however you want, but I'm going to embroider a little straight line right here. So in order to embroider a little mouth without having to tie any bulky knots next to where I embroider the mouth, I'm going to start by inserting in through the back of the head right here, just right in the center, and then I'm going to exit my needle out through the hole where I want one side of the mouth to be. Pull out my yarn, and I'm going to insert it here in order to create a little straight line like this, but I'm going to exit my darning needle out through the same hole that I first inserted into. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 strands of yarn, so this is my starting tail and my end tail, and I am going to tie a knot. So just a pretty basic knot, not too tight. And now I'm going to thread both ends through my darning needle. And now I'm going to weave in these ends, but I'm going to insert into the same hole that both ends are coming out of, and then weave in the end. I'm going to pull it, and as you can see, the knot disappears. And I'm just going to cut these strands. So by tying our knot like that, it prevents tying any knots next to the smile, which can look a little awkward and bulky sometimes. So yeah, now our frog is done. Oh, it's so cute. Look at how cute it is. So we have officially finished making our little frog. I hope you guys enjoyed making your little frogs. If you guys take any photos and post them on Instagram, please tag me. I would love to see. My Instagram handle is @DanicaMakesThings, so the same thing as my YouTube handle. Also, if you're a fan of these little no-sew or low-sew mini amigurumis, I also have 2 more tutorials for a mini low-sew cow and a mini low-sew bunny. So if you'd like to make more little mini low-sew or no-sew plushies, I would definitely recommend checking those out. Also, one more thing, if there's anything that you would like me to do, like if there's any animals that you would like me to create patterns for and do a tutorial for, let me know in the comments, because I'm always looking for new things to make and new tutorials to create. Anyways, I think I've covered everything, so I'm going to end this video here, but thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye!